Hi everyone, welcome back to the Michelle Otoka podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today I have my friend Sharlene in the studio. It's so nice to have her side by side with me today after a hiatus from the podcast. Full disclosure, life gets in the way, but I'm excited to be back with Sharlene here beside me. We were talking as we normally do, and we came up with this theme that we kept seeing in both of our professions. We deal with women's health, nutrition, and physical fitness, but we want to really help women live confidently and live their best life, right? We're both on the same page, but one thing always comes up, and today we really want to shed light on it, and it's stress that can affect women. So let's chat. What do you think?
I love it. And I love that I'm the first person like back in 3D with you. Like,
I know,
3D.
right? It's refreshing.
It is.
It's refreshing to be like touching
and smelling them. She smelled me as I came in.
For those that know me know that I am a touchy-feely person. If I know you, okay? If I know you, I'm not just going to go to random people because I don't do that. But if I know you, I'm a touchy-feely person. And, you know, the last 2 years have been a little tough because I think my husband and my kids are done with me because I'm a little too touchy. But anyways, let's talk about stress. Like, who's not stressed?
Well,
right?
Yes, right. I think to be human, we're stressed for sure. Stress is a beautiful thing in some ways. It keeps us alive and out of danger. But when we do it on a consistent basis and just that becomes our norm, it becomes a real issue. So, you know, back to what we were talking about before, like when we peel back all of the layers of everything that our clients are going through, when we look at on a much deeper level, what is the basis of it? And we found some commonalities, and one of the key ones was stress. The other is, can I drop the second one, like as a little hint for what's coming next, maybe? Is self-love. So these are the areas where a lot of the foundations are built. And I think if we can kind of unravel that one piece, we can get to so many more other underlying issues, symptoms, imbalances, and it's a big topic. So I'm glad that we're here talking about it together. It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to unpack. But
and the thing is, right? Like nobody. I don't want to say like it's stress is not judgmental. Like it affects everyone. Okay, I'm going to share my personal experience because the last 2 years, you know, pivoting online and learning a new way of doing things, and really just in that like flight mode, like you're just flying, you're just making do, you're just making ends meet, you're just, you know, trying to be there for your kids and be the best wife and so on. And it crept up to me. It did. And, you know, last year I had some health concerns, and it just kind of like trickled. It was like one health concern, and then 3 months later, another health concern. And then this year, another one. It was like a cake. And then finally, like Sharlene said, like when I started peeling back, like, why am I dealing with this? I work out, I eat healthy. What is it? What is it? And then realizing that we have been through a traumatic event. And for me, I think I was burying it. I think I was burying it and saying, nope, I'm not dealing with this now. It's okay. I'm good. But then all of a sudden, you're not good. And then it's showing up physically. And then you have to listen, right? And for me, it was hormones. It was all out of whack. Hormones, weight gain, feeling lethargic, just not enjoying what I was doing. Exhaustion. And realizing that it affects everyone. And, you know, we really want to shed light on it because I feel a lot of women are going through life and they're flying. Right? And I made a pact to myself after realizing that I feel this is stress related. And, you know, doctors would say like, your labs are this, your labs are that. And I keep thinking like, why? But once you come into that realization, I made a pact, you know what? I want to thrive. I don't want to survive. We're done the survival mode. We are done that. We need to now thrive. What do you think? Like,
totally. And that's exactly what stress is and why it's there, right? It's a physiological response to keep us at the ultimate level. It allows us to survive as a human being, right? So that's that's our primitive default mode is survival. That's the main objective of a human is to survive. So that's the basis of the foundation of stress. And you're right. Like, I love that you've recognized that, I want to get out of this survival mode. I need more than just to survive. I need to actually get to the next level. And I think it might be worthy of us talking about like the physiological response that actually happens in the body and how it is all the same, whether it's imagined, perceived, or actually a real threat. So we can just think about something and worry about something, and we still have the same physiological response. So we haven't evolved as humans to distinguish what's actually real and what's imagined or perceived. So, I find this even with myself, that stress can be very simply just not keeping your own word to yourself, not honoring yourself and allowing your boundaries to be stretched or your standards to be stretched. And I think as women, and that's a blanket statement, please forgive me, just from my experience, what I see coaching predominantly women, is we have this tendency and desire to be of service and to help others. And we often make that our priority and our focus versus our own well-being and our own standards, where we tend to, and I'll speak for myself, I can very easily extend my parameters, my boundaries in effort of it's of service and it's of helping someone else. So whether that's in your business or with your family or your friends. Totally. So I do believe that stress, even though, what you're talking about, Michelle, going through an extreme global event that has affected so many of us on a large scale, even on a smaller scale, even if there's not a global pandemic, like just how we treat ourselves and we allow our boundaries to just go beyond what's protective and supportive for us, like that in itself is stress, because now, I haven't honored the thing that I wanted to do. My boundary gets extended and now I can't do the stuff that I want to do. So I'm like hurrying and I'm rushing and for what trade-off? Because I've helped someone else do something, which I feel good about myself, which is great. And I think we women, we want to do that. We need that to nourish ourselves. But when we're not at the top of the priority, and I think that's very common theme, and I notice it even in myself, and I'm constantly in check with that. So I don't know, I think if we maybe talk about how stress actually affects us.
Like you hit a good point there. So I always bring it down to like what I do, right? Like I'm coaching women to like establish a routine, to like really hone in on their lifestyle, because as we were speaking, like we usually do, for me personally, when someone comes to me, they may want to lose the weight, okay? They may want to get fit. But when we start, like Sharlene said, peeling back the layers of the why, there is something below that, okay? Getting fit and becoming healthy is great, but we have to do the inner work, okay? And stress can still be lingering around there. Let's say, for example, you commit to a challenge, or you commit to, working out more, eating right. And then all of a sudden, on the next week or day 7, you stop doing it. You're like, oh, I can't do it, or my son needs to be driven here, or my work is too much. And then you let yourself down, okay? You're going to be stressed. Okay, you keep doing that, you're piling on the disappointments, okay? That is exactly how stress creeps up on just everyday life. It doesn't have to be like Sharlene, a pandemic. It could be your everyday life where you made a commitment to yourself and you keep breaking it for others, right? I'm a mom and I 100% am in that boat of driving my kids, and I love them to death, but sometimes it becomes too much. Sometimes I feel like there needs to be a pause. Like mom needs to do this first. And I have communicated with my children many times. We cannot leave the house till this is done. It could be dishes. It could be put the chairs in the table, like put them in. Or it could be like vacuum. Because when I come back, for me, learning what works for me is a tidy home. And it may not work for everybody, but communicating, that's one of the tips that I learned, is that you cannot do it all. Right. Like, don't we feel like we want to do it all?
Yes.
And I'm a micromanager, like in my home. It's like, I'll do this, I'll do that, I do it better. Okay, I'll do it. And then I learned that, like, wait a minute, that's why no one's helping. It's because I have brought that onto myself. So one of the things that I've learned is it may not be done right, but delegating, learning to delegate. I feel like in our careers, women, we can delegate, right? We can delegate and we say, you do this. But when it comes to our personal home space, it's like we're holding on the reins. It's like, you can't do this now, right? So what do you think?
Yeah, I think you raised a really good point. Just because you're capable doesn't mean that you ought to be the person doing it. Even though, there's tasks and things to be done, it doesn't mean that you need to be the one to do them. It's particularly if you're working in, I consider a family a team, like you're a collective tribe that work together and you can each support each other. Yeah, that's a big topic. And I was just going to, as you were speaking there, the extension of the self boundaries is really a big issue.
Yeah,
and I
boundaries.
think that's where a lot of resentment, yes, stress comes from, but also a lot of resentment. So you have this idea that you're going to, whatever, habit you're going to instill, and you make this kind of deal with yourself. And you said life gets in the way. You let yourself down, and you very easily, I'm saying I've noticed with myself, you let yourself off the hook. And what you're doing is really breaking your word to yourself. So then you have less trust in yourself.
Yeah, you're right.
And it makes it easier the next time to let yourself off the hook. So I do think oftentimes part of the...
All right, so we're back, and we left off where we're going to talk about some tips and how to really, not let the stress creep up on you, like the way it happened for me, where I wasn't dealing with it. I really was burying it. I think I knew that I was stressed. Like, I kept chalking it up to everyone's stressed, right? Like, who doesn't say that? Oh, everybody's stressed. But everyone deals with stress differently, okay? And for me, physiologically, things were breaking down. Gut issues, breast issues, the hormones were out of whack. Like, the list kept piling up. And I kept thinking, like, what am I doing wrong? But I wasn't dealing with stress the way that maybe I should be dealing with stress. Just as if, like, eating healthy foods may be good, but maybe certain healthy foods may not be good for you. So it's kind of like identifying what works for you and your lifestyle and go with it, right? You were talking about keeping your word. I think that's really empowering. You need to keep your word, right?
I think that's the only way we build confidence within ourselves and we feel empowered, is by keeping the contract that you made to yourself. And it's really easy to, as we were talking about earlier, just let yourself off the hook, because who's going to know? Well, that's the most important person. So off screen there, we were just talking about confidence and how do you actually build confidence is about consistently just doing what you said you're going to do for yourself. Like, that's it. It's a small task. And when I coach women, I work on the basis of stacking habits, like small little seemingly insignificant things to do, and do it repetitively until you get that, like, it's, like brushing your teeth. You don't even have to think about it. And then you stack the next habit so that it becomes like a non-negotiable. It's just something that you actually do. So starting really small by making these tiny little promises to yourself, something that you can fulfill.
That's important.
Yes. And like with no excuses, that it's always a standard that you uphold.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's important. Like, when we go through goals, similar things, we talk about habits in our online community, and everyone has a different lifestyle. So what works for me may not work for you. If waking up at 6 a.m. and working out does not work for you, then that's not the habit to start with. If getting outside for 10 minutes on your lunch and getting vitamin D works for you, then do that. Because if you do something that doesn't work for you, you're not going to stick with it. Okay? And that's super important. But the other, tip, advice I want to say is that you have to want it. Deep down inside, you have to say to yourself, like Sharlene said, Sharlene, it's a non-negotiable. Like, if you're going to commit to something, you're going to commit. Right? If I said to you, whoever is listening right now, I have a magic pill. If you take it every day, you're going to be happy and confident. How many people will do it every single day? You may do it for the first 2 days or first 2 weeks. You may say, you know what? I don't know what's the difference. I'm going to stop. But it's in that stopping that you've given up on yourself. Right?
I think what happens too, from what I see, personal experience and coaching women for over 10 years, is we have to come about it the wrong way and try to change actions versus our thoughts. So when you just try to change the action and just do something without changing how you think about it or the way you look at yourself, you can change the action for a little while, but you really need to start with the thought.
So true.
That's where it all stems from, is the mindset. And, you know, when you're talking about stress, I can't help but add in that stress is so subjective. Like, what is stressful to you and what is stressful to me is completely different, right? Yeah. Like, if I had to run 3 kids around, I would be in a loony bin. Like, I don't even know how, like, I don't have that capacity. I just don't. So how we view something is really the level of stress that's ingrained within all of us. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, what is stressful to 2 different people is completely unique. And then also how we manage stress and how we deal with it is absolutely unique. So 2 people can be given the exact same task, and each of us looking at it, like, you think, oh, it's a breeze. And I think, holy hell, like, I know. There's no way. So I think, step out of the comparison game. Like, I should be able to do this. Should be nothing. Everybody else does it. Or there's so many other women doing this. Why can't I? Like, well, you can't because of your experience, your biochemistry, the trauma that you've had, your experiences. Like, there's so many different layers that to not compare. I'm sorry, we were going to talk about tips, but we're going to get there. We're getting there. We are kind of giving you tips. Like, if you've not noticed,
we could talk for hours on this. Oh, I mean, I could talk for hours too to anybody, but we're so passionate about really helping women, like, just hone into their life and take charge. Like, this is the basis of what we do. We really coach women, maybe, different but similar, okay? We believe in the habits. We believe in, like, loving yourself enough to do this for you. Because at the end of the day, stress will not leave. We live a busy lifestyle, okay? Things are at faster pace than they were 10 years ago. And it will only continue. So you have to learn the tools and resources now to deal with your stress and manage it. And the thing is, no one around you is going to care enough like you will. You are in charge of your vehicle. Not your husband, not your partner, not your kids, not your coworkers. You wake up every single day. They don't care if you do, maybe. Maybe they do. But you need to put yourself on. And if you are breaking or bursting at the seams because you're overwhelmed, then there's something that you need to address, right? And as much as tips that we can give you, you need to be self-aware that this is going on, right? Lots of food tips. Like, I overhauled my diet completely to the point where I don't even eat the foods I used to eat. Like I said at the beginning, healthy food is healthy food, but it may not be healthy for you. And that's what I've learned, accepting that maybe what I was eating was not serving me. And now what I'm doing is working better for stress management, for less bloat. And who does not feel better when they look and feel better, right? Exactly. Like, that's the thing, is that it's not vanity. It's not superficial. It's everything. It's physical. It's emotional health. It's spiritual health. It's all of those things that really encompass you, right?
Absolutely. And from my experience when talking with many women, most of us don't feel stressed. We're like, no, I got this. It's totally fine. It's really interesting looking from the outside in. One of the most common questions I have when I'm starting to work with someone is like, where are you on the stress scale, like 1 to 10? And it's amazing, like people that are going through a divorce, a move, they've changed their business. Oh, I don't know, 4. Like, what?
4?
But it becomes so normalized.
Yeah.
So I think
you're right.
we get used to juggling, 2 balls at a time. We had a 3rd one. I got this. You had a 4th one. I've got this. And it's like a gradual progression where it just becomes your normal and your baseline. So you often don't even realize like the level of stress that you're in. So I think, as we're talking about stress here today, you may think, oh, this doesn't really apply to me because I'm not stressed because I got it. And you do because we're adaptable and we're women and we're multitaskers and we can get shit done. We're powerful, strong, independent women. So you may not feel that you're actually stressed. So some of the things that you can probably relate this to, and what I see the biggest interconnection between stress and what I'm seeing in my practice. I deal with middle-aged women predominantly that have metabolic and hormone issues. So the way that it shows up is inflammation in your body. And we know when we have inflammation in our system that we have digestive issues. Once we have digestive issues, we have more inflammation, and that contributes to hormone imbalance. So that is the trifecta, and I think we talked about this last on another podcast about this trifecta. And it's really my quest when I'm dealing with my clients is to address all 3 of these things. So that is, even though you don't think stress is the problem, stress is a huge contributor to all of these factors. So what happens, on a physiological level, when we are subjected to stress, whether it is imagined, perceived, or real, is the same response. So what happens immediately is our heart rate increases, our blood goes down to our extremities so that we can outrun the thing that is endangering us and threatening our survival. That means all blood is shunted away from our digestive tract, how we process food, how we eliminate it. Our heart rate is increased, our breathing becomes quickened and shallowed, our eyes dilate, our muscles become tense. So one, digestion is, if you're being chased by, a grizzly bear and you're worried about your survival, you're not going to be worrying about digesting that apple that you just ate. Your body is in survival mode. Yeah. And get the hell out of danger's way. So all of the seemingly unimportant functions of our body are put on pause to deal with the immediate threat. So digestion is one of the key things that is stopped. But also think about how many women that we know that have no sex drive, low libido. So if you're out running a grizzly bear, you're not thinking about having sex. Reproduction is not the top of your priority list. It's just not. It's true. These are the 2 key fundamentals that get shut down. But I mean, it goes much further than that, right? Blood sugar imbalance. Blood sugar is increased actually. So when our blood sugar is increased, it's like releasing all the sugar that's been stored for later use because we need it now. We need muscles to act as quickly as possible to outrun this danger. So this is all the functions, the physiological functions that are happening, that even when we are worried about something like an impending threat, this is the same thing that's happening. So we see increased weight gain, inability to lose weight, digestive problems, hormone imbalances, the list. Exactly what you just said. The
list can go on, right? Yeah. So this is the thing. Like the tips are endless, right? We could go on for hours.
Okay, I got a couple. I got a couple tips.
Okay, 2 tips each. Because I'm gonna give 2, you're gonna give 2.
Okay, you go first.
Oh, I knew you were gonna say that. Okay.
Okay, you go one, I'll go one.
Okay. So number 1 tip, like I said before, I mentioned it, is that learn to say no. Okay? Learn to say no is what I'm reading a book. I'm gonna say the book. It's called Present Over Perfect. And it really teaches you, it's about her life and how she went from saying yes to everyone to really looking at her inner circle, which were her husband and kids and her parents and her sisters, and only saying yes to meaningful things. And then as the circle got wider, acquaintances, co-workers, one-offs, the no's started. Okay? So learn to say no. If it's something that is, needed right now, assess. Does it need to happen right now? If it doesn't, no. It doesn't serve me at this moment.
It sounds so simple.
It sounds so simple, but let me tell you, it's one of the hardest things I've had to learn to do because my love language is service and helping. And so I'm a doer, okay? I'm a doer. If something needs to be done, I'm in there, okay? We have a party, I'm the washing the dishes. I love to get involved. So saying no is like belly cringing. But the more I did it, the more I was less resentful. Because when you say yes, you become resentful that you have to do it now. And then you're resenting them and the situation. So, no, that's my one.
Okay, and as you're talking about this, I'm like, could we make a list of all the things to like not do and infuse a couple things to do? And just to spin off of what you're saying, the saying the no, I think that kind of boils down to the other topic that we were starting to talk about is the two biggest things that we find in women, that all the basis of imbalances come from: stress and lack of self-love.
Yeah.
So I think in order for you to be able to say no, first you have to really tap into loving yourself enough to make yourself that priority. Gosh. Priority.
I like that.
Yes. So that wasn't my one. It was just adding I'm sorry. Okay, so being a nutritionist, I think I do need to talk about food, and not that I feel obligated to. I think it's a really key foundation, and we can sometimes overlook the importance of what we put into our body and how that is the foundation for how our body operates and responds. So the key thing that you can do is avoiding items and foods that actually cause havoc and wreak havoc and cause more stress in your system. And I think we probably, as a blanket, know like processed foods that are high in preservatives or chemicals or antibiotics, food colorings, that sort of thing. But further down that line is things with sugar, alcohol, caffeine. These are all things that add additional amounts of stress to our body that our body has to deal with, that creates just another layer of stress to go through. So having foods that are more supportive, you may know, is just eating whole foods naturally in their natural state, straight from the earth. There are things like adaptogens that you can certainly introduce, but I would say starting first of all with the huge offenders, which I think we all kind of gravitate to in times of stress, which is
comfort foods.
Yeah. So things that turn easily into sugar, even though you're not eating a bowl of white sugar, things that are carbohydrate rich, even if it's grains, even healthy grains, or even healthy types of sweeteners, like really eliminating that aspect so it's not creating that much more havoc for your body, and using foods and choosing foods that are going to balance your insulin. So when we have blood sugar dysregulation and big swings between blood sugar increases and then crashes, and that also feeds into the insulin loop and how we actually store fat and creates more inflammation. So balancing blood sugar is really key by eating, properly balanced meals of all the macronutrients, which is protein, fats, and carbs. I think you can start there, as basic as that sounds. And, if you need help, I have tons of free resources on my website, or reach out to me. Yeah. But the food is, I think, a really big piece that is sometimes so overlooked.
Okay. My next tip is simple. It's just like you said, simple, but it's getting outside. It's grounding yourself. Now, I like to get the vitamin D. And this is the thing, I don't like winter. I am one of those people that I don't like winter sports. I like chalet, okay? Put my hands in a muff, okay? I do not like the cold. But getting outside, 30 minutes a day, I promote this with our online community and our members. It's it just gives you a breath of fresh air. And I like to do it in the afternoon. Because in the afternoon is shown to have that dip where it's I'm kind of sluggish, right? Let's grab a coffee. But really, if you avoid the coffee and then go for a walk, you may feel better. So that's my tip.
I love that. I love the nature thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So many.
Just be grounded by nature. Nature is there for a reason.
Yeah.
We're not meant to be inside all the time. We're not.
No, with artificial light. And getting real sunlight in your eyes, super important. I would say, I think if I were like to really drill down to, I can't say avoid, but reduce and be really cautious of the amount of stimuli that you're subjected to. Whether that comes from your environment, fluorescent lights, noise, music, sensory types of things, screens, your devices, the less stimulus you can have, the better for your nervous system overall. I would say that's
a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you. I have a lot, but yeah,
I know we have a lot, but we're trying to make it for time. But we have something special that we have put together. We really have been looking forward to this for a long time, and finally we're doing it. Okay, so do you want to tell them about it?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, we both should.
Yeah, but you start. It's okay.
I'm much more. I'm going to like ease into it. So we've been talking a lot about supporting women and their ability to love themselves and love themselves exactly as they are. Even though we want to improve and upgrade our life, our health, our body, we can still make the decision to love ourselves exactly as we are. So we've come up with a really, I think, creative and fun and sensual way to bring a unique experience live in person at a really cool venue to help women be in love with themselves and really tap into their own femininity, to their own energy, to their own worthiness, to their own self-love. Yeah. There's a lot more wrapped up in that, but
it's I want you to think of like sultry. Like I want you to think of like stepping outside the box. Okay? We don't like the box. Break it and come to our event. And really, when you leave this event, you're going to feel a shift in your mindset. You're going to feel a shift in your reflection of yourself. And there's so much more to you than you even realize. And we want to help you get there. Okay? So I'm going to post under this video a link to our event. It is Sunday, October 23rd. And it's here in Niagara at a beautiful location with us too and some other fun things involved as well. So check out that link and come join us, because I promise you, you want to surround yourself. That was my other tip. Surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up and a network where you're able to vent, you're able to get support, you're able to just be you. And there's no judgment zone, okay? And that's what we want to convey. We want to be that lifeline. We want you to be surrounded by women who get you. And we absolutely do, okay? So, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Sharlene.
Thank you for having me. It's so fun to be in your
studio. I know. Yeah. There's more to come with us, okay? So, stay tuned, okay? All right, everyone. Have a great day. Ciao.
Bye for now.